didn't know you took a NOLS course. Or
I did 4 NOLS courses.
holy smokes.
Yeah. Yeah. 30, 30 days that were sort of boiled down into 21 days.
Okay.
Yeah. Cause so we arrived like early August. We'd go into the Rockies for 3 weeks, well, into the Wind Rivers for 3 weeks, and then come back before the start of the school year.
Okay.
So I did it once as a student and then twice more as a call it like a student
Sure.
instructor or yeah. And then I did a winter trip with Knowles, which actually I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. And all my classmates thought it was like the final depths of hell.
It's really one or the other. You either like love the winter scene or it yeah, crushes you.
Well, my frustration with the summer trips, I had a great time. Don't get me wrong. I found that we'd hike all day, which is fine. You're active, but then we'd get to camp, you pitch your tent, and then you'd have like 2 or 3 hours where there's just nothing to really do with your hands. And as a project oriented guy, oh man, I just love putting stuff together. And we'd get on Knowles and they'd be like, all right, we're not building a fire. We're not cutting down anything to make a shelter. We're pitching your tent, and then you're going to be like LNT, like low impact. And I remember like 18 years old, I was like, I need a
You've
project.
not heard of like idle hands are the playthings?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So the fly fishing helped,
Yeah.
so sometimes I just grab a rod and just like go down and just like follow a river for a couple hours or just like circle one of those local lakes.
Sweet.
So yeah, so that was nice because that also saved us. There were a couple times where the other cook groups, none of them could fish and they all ran out of
Burned
food.
through
Like,
their food, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And they're like trying to make these like bullshit pancakes with like a little bit of dried milk, a little bit of flour, like a few leftover chocolate chips, and they're like, "Well, let's just try putting the bacon bits in, just like
That still happens out
and like,
there.
yeah, exactly." And we're over there like making fish chowder. We're like, "Oh, we feel kind of bad, but we're also hungry."
And yep,
Yeah,
we learned ourselves to fish. So
yeah.
works of paying attention.
So, did you start off as a field instructor?
No, I took a student course after I graduated college.
Okay.
And so I graduated college in California, one of the UCs in Irvine,
Yep.
in 2010, in political science and philosophy, and was kind of like on track to go to law school. Um, Decided I needed to take some time, reconnect with the outdoors after not doing a whole bunch during my college years. And better or worse, multiple sources like connected me with this thing called NOLS. I'd never heard of it
Mhm.
through college, and was kind of back home spinning my wheels, deciding, well, I guess this is what I do. I go to law school. Let me check out this thing and go backpacking for a bit. Had wanted to get down to Chile and see Patagonia ever since I like saw slide like shows of it when I was a kid, and I happened to like inherit like to the dollar enough money like after my grandmother passed away to like cover the cost of a semester and like round ticket airfare.
It was like a sign.
It was a sign. Yeah, I was just like, okay, great. Like I'm gonna go do this thing, and then I'll come back, and then I'm gonna buckle down for 4 more years of schooling. Here we go. And yeah, had a completely like life-changing experience down there, bushwhacking through the Andes, um, and standing on top of a mountain and being like, yeah, you know what? Like, I would rather do this. And
Patagonia probably only has the is probably only comparable to Alaska or the Himalayas in terms of its remoteness and ruggedness.
definitely like the grandeur of the mountains, like they're big mountains. And yeah, remoteness probably comparable to like our Alaska courses. You can feel pretty remote here in the winds, but you're not too far away from help if you need it. And yeah, definitely larger than the Sierras that I grew up in backpacking and romping around in California.
Okay.
So yeah, just fell in love with just the sheer like majesty of like looking as far as yeah, I could see in either direction, like north or south, and just spine of mountains. And yeah, really connected with myself. It was the first time really since maybe like my elementary school years that I connected with a cohort of peers in such a profound way. Like you're out in the wilderness for or semester we were there for like 4 months, and yeah, no cell phones, no computers, no responsibilities other than like taking care of yourself and your peers. And yeah, I just found like the light bulb aha moments of like working in or being in experiential education so much more rewarding than what I was looking at going back to school and trying to get involved in like the legal system. Um, so yeah, that was like my introduction to NOLS was as a student in 2011.
Wow. 4 months.
4 months, yeah, yeah, sea kayaking, mountaineering, and then we had like 2 weeks of independent student group like backpacking,
Hmm.
which was pretty wild. I think at the time I was like 22, had done some like backpacking with my parents in like my teenage years. But this was my first time like, well, with people. I think I was the oldest one, um, romping around in a foreign country in a remote wilderness area. And like we planned the whole trip, planned the ration, had the first aid skills if something like went awry.
Hmm.
And yeah, it just felt very empowering.
Okay.
And the the immediacy and the feedback of that environment and that context was just so much more engaging than what I experienced in college and being like really conceptual and in the mind and like thinking and like in the future on these large scales. Like this really just brought it into like the here and now with peers that were relying on you, you were relying on them. It just felt, yeah, it felt meaningful.
Right. I'm curious if there's something that happened very distinctly after a week or 2 weeks or a month. Like, did you notice a distinct before and after a marked period of time?
Yeah, I would say like showing up felt like pretty like insecure first time traveling international alone, bunch of strangers. Um, wasn't incredibly like confident in like where I was going post college. And yeah, that honeymoon phase of getting to know like a new group of people that like lasts for a week or two, and then you all start getting under each other's skin and showing your colors a little bit, being more both vulnerable and courageous, and like how you're being a human. And I think navigating that conflict and not being able to like avoid one another and coming through it out on the other side of this like sea kayaking section and being a really tight cohort of yeah college age students, that felt as if we'd like known each other for years and we'd only known each other for a few weeks. uh,
But in terms of time
mm,
spent together, it might be the equivalent of
sure.
3 or 4 years
Oh yeah,
of someone living in the same dorm or being in the same class as you.
easily, yeah, you're getting uh yeah high intensity interpersonal social time for yeah, 12, 14 hours a day, without much of an opportunity to avoid it. So yeah, you really get to uh, learn about how yourself, how you deal with connecting with other people, responding to feedback, advocating for your needs. And yeah, I think that was like an inflection point for me going through that uncertainty of like, oh, how am I going to like fit in this group now that like things are like socially awkward or challenging in this like we were getting rained on. We've been like wet for like 4 or 5 days in a row. Yeah. I mean, like what stop. I mean, there's a distinctive memory. It was like I was having a hard time with my cook group. We were on a channel crossing in these like uh, rainforest fjords along the coast of Chile, and the tide and wind happened to go against us, and it's raining, and so we're like for every 5 units of energy you're spending to go forward, you're maybe only going forward like 1 unit. And so this channel crossing was taking forever. And I really had to go pee. And you can't stop in the middle of this channel crossing. And so I was like paddling in a boat with someone who I was like having a hard time with. And I like peed my rubber heli Hansons. And there's nothing I could do about it. And like getting out of the boat at the end of the day and being like, this is the worst day of the trip. I can't believe I spent all this money to fly halfway around the world to like pee in rubber heli Hansons and have
Just running down your
just,
leg.
oh yeah, you're just like sitting in it in the boat. And I'm not a boater, so this was a new experience for me. And to have my buddy like turn around because we weren't able to talk a whole lot because it was like windy and loud, and to like extend a hand and be just like say, you know what, I'm sorry, let's work through this. And that like that just wasn't something that like I would have like had an experience like that in college where it's like, all right, you just avoid people. Like I learned to avoid people in my problems in college because you could.
Like, oh, we don't get along, so therefore we're not going to see each other.
Yeah, I don't have to. Like I'm in a university of like 25,000 people. We're gonna like switch up housemates in a few months or whatever it is going to be. I only see you like once or twice a week. And so the power of like going through conflict, being uncomfortable and being seen and valued and appreciated and having someone else like want to reach across and like work through challenge, um, was just a very like powerful experience that I needed to be in a remote wilderness setting, paddling for my life to like finally have this like aha moment of how to connect with another human.
I wonder if what we have to go on a NOLS course in the middle of Patagonia to experience is analogous to what everyone would have experienced growing up in a little village with no cell phones, no internet, no distractions, and you're in a village of maybe 100 people.
Yeah, it's kind of like a throwback to tribal communism. Like,
Okay.
yeah, you're living in a group of 10 to 15 other people for a couple of weeks. You're reliant on one another for navigating unknown territory, like collecting water, making food, finding shelter, like dealing with injuries, sickness on your own. Like you are self-sufficient. Um, and yeah, I think in many ways it's like that's how I think most of our ancestors lived for generation upon generation upon generation.
Hmm.
And yeah, we live in this really unique period in time where that is not the norm. And we have to actively create structure to go have these experiences to reconnect with these like aspects of ourselves.
Sure. What is it about I'm very curious about this part of the process. I think they called it the storming phase on my
Yep.
during my NOLS trips. Like, okay, you got to go through your storming phase.
Yep.
It's like not only do you notice the other person's flaws, but like everything about that person looks like a flaw, and everything you do looks like a flaw to them, right? Like it's this just very intense, like this rash of irritation interpersonally. Uh, what reflecting back on that stage, what do you think? What do you think is going on there in a group dynamic? Because it's very distinct.
Totally. Yeah. So I think like what you're alluding to is what we present as like the stages of group development. I can't remember the person who coined the theory.
Hmm.
And where we're at in that stage is there's this tension between we want to conform to a group, but we want to express our individuality and autonomy. We want to figure out where do we line up relative to one another in our group? And there's a lot like navigating that uncertainty and trying to like express yourself and both feel seen and included, but feel like you have a sense of yeah, power within this group are just like fundamental like human needs or aspects to our dynamic interpersonal dynamics. And so in like that conflict stage, people are now trying to figure out who they are in this new group setting. And because we don't know everyone's background, we don't know what everyone wants, likes, um, trigger points and like their backstories, etc. We start stepping on each other's toes, feelings get hurt, and people now start to feel more or potentially not comfortable expressing it. And we start communicating in either passive or these aggressive ways, like maybe like, I'm not going to take down the tent. It's my turn. But a conversation you had in the tent last night when after like with Tom, after I had asked you all to like shut up, I'm trying to sleep or whatever, you all kept doing it. I'm irritated at you rather than communicating and expressing like that openly. Like, let's say I just don't take the tent down in the morning when it's my job and like we're late and I'm passively like communicating my like disappointment with your behavior. And so that conflict, that storming stage is usually where, yeah, people's emotions are hurt. frustrations are building, and they don't have the communication tools to navigate through that constructively yet. So often uncomfortable, but very normal.
A lot of modern, I shouldn't say a lot. There are distinct modern sources that will try to boil down all of these interactions into the establishment of a power hierarchy. I don't think they're completely wrong, but do you see other things going on besides just, oh, we're trying to establish a pecking order?
Yeah, I definitely want to say it's like a conscious thing that's like happening. Um, I think it's people trying to find ways to connect. Like I think a fundamental want and need that is ubiquitous across these courses that I go on. It's like an awesome science experiment where you get to watch this happen in the wild. Um, is the need for humans to connect with other humans, and how we do that is comes in many different shapes and forms, and sometimes that causes, um, yeah, we unintentionally harm someone else. I say an off-color joke that irritates someone else, and they don't let me know, and I continue to do it for days and days on end, and they build up resentment, and then they blow up or something like that. And so I think it's less of like, oh, I'm trying to find like I want to be like the most powerful person in this group. It's more like, oh, I want to be seen, valued, and heard, and I am resorting to like habits and strategies that work for me back home in my home environment and culture, but this is a brand new in culture you're creating from scratch. And as those differences start to manifest, there's usually some friction. And because we don't learn how to like communicate navigating differences in our standard academic school, and we go through the storming phase. And a lot of the leadership skills that we teach and practice on these courses is around like navigating uncertainty, adversity, how to communicate,
Hmm.
and build self-awareness.
Right. I remember on my courses, one of the most valuable approaches that I thought Knowles got right was being able to approach someone with a very specific incident or a very specific behavior, right? You said this thing at this time, and that bothered me for this reason or that reason, right? Rather than saying, "Oh, you're chauvinist or you're racist or you are impatient," like or any number of things that you could perhaps aptly criticize someone for. The It seems to me that one of the things I absorbed as a good lesson was this focus on specificity when you do have to, I don't want to say confront, that sounds antagonistic, when you do have to broach a difficult topic with someone.
Yeah, I think what you're alluding to there is separating a person's like identity or personality from their behavior. And so
Mm.
as soon as we put like, a label on someone, we categorize someone in a group, our minds, our egos are really quickly to like either like, oh, that I resonate with that or I don't. And if you don't,
Right.
more
Some
often,
people might be like, yeah, chauvinism.
speaking my language,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. Right. He said it. We were all thinking it. Yeah. I mean,
That happens, yeah. Um, but when that doesn't align, more often than not, what happens is people's like stress levels go up.
mhm.
And like this, we are treating these experiences as learning opportunities. And once your stress level is above like an optimal arousal, it's really hard to like actually learn and like absorb information or like understand this feedback you're trying to give me. Like you're calling me a chauvinist, et cetera. Like there was some behavior that I wasn't doing well, but all I'm hearing is, oh, I'm a chauvinist. I don't think I'm a chauvinist. So I I've now created space between you and me versus trying to like lean in to understand. Whereas if we can speak to behaviors, separate the behavior from the person and say, hey, John, I noticed like the other night when you made that joke about X, Y, or Z, I don't know what your intention was there, but like this is how it landed with me. I would appreciate it if we try to connect over something else. How does that land for you? Now
Mhm.
we're talking about like things that have a little bit more space to them. And yeah,
Right. The ability to the ability to try to talk about the incident or the behavior or as a thing apart from you and me so that we can look at the thing as a third entity and you and I can talk about it,
Yeah.
rather than saying, why are you such an ass? Like, well, how, like, what
Where did we go with
good
that?
answer is there to that question?
Totally. Um, so yeah, I think a lot of this like Knowles experience, like we go to like beautiful, dramatic, scenic spaces. I think the things that captures people's attention when you like look at photos and images are the majestic mountains, the climbing the cliffs, paddling the rapids. These are all phenomenal, like peak experiences to have just as a human. They're fun. They like get your adrenaline going. And I think the true magic of what these expeditions allow is for like working on these the unsexy things, the how to navigate. Dude, you're bringing your smelly shoes into the tent again, and I've requested you not to do that. Or, hey, I really appreciate it when you like asked to look at the map and are engaged in the map reading. So like learning how to communicate our wants, needs, and doing that in a spot where like there's real life consequences. If you don't cultivate trust and rapport with your peers and are able to like name and address challenging things when times are easy or in camp the stakes are low and now you're on the at 12,000 feet on the side of a mountain pass and you have a thunderstorm coming in, you have to make a decision whether, oh, do we like push and go over or do we go back?
Mm.
And you have like your designated leader for the day is like making a decision that you don't agree with, but you haven't built up the relationship to like navigate that well. Yeah, things could go poorly.
You haven't built up the rapport over who fills the dromedary
Yeah.
after dinner. All of a sudden, you're in this high stakes situation. We did this mountain pass attempt. I think we got up. It wasn't quite a peak attempt, so it wasn't like we had to get up at 4, but we had to get up at like 6 something and be like moving by 7 so that we could get up and over this pass because our instructors were saying to us like, yeah, it's gonna be storming in the afternoon. We have to get up and over before the lightning is a real danger and a real factor. So we spent 6 hours, right, from like 7 in the morning. We were moving, and then in the early afternoon, we were like so close. I mean, we were probably 300 feet from the saddle that would get us over to the other side of the valley. And we were there 300 feet. And I remember instructor Tim being like, stop, about face, we're going down. And he pulled us back off this mountain and we were livid. I mean, we were close to insurrection.
The stomach fever was there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, oh, so now we have to go back down another 2 hours, knowing that every step back down is a step that we're going to have to take back tomorrow. And then we still have to go down the other side. And so there was the physical storm, right? And then there was just the mental storm. We were all just beyond really reasonable, measured words and behavior. And he did a great job. I mean, I will never forget the lesson he brought up at the end of the day. He's like, "So, boys, you're all pretty pissed, huh?" We're like, "Yes, yes, we are. We were there. We were there." And he said, "This is really important because you have to know what your objectives actually are." He said, "What's the objective?" We're like, "To get to the other side." He's like, "No, the objective is for everyone to live."
Totally. Yeah, what's like a relatable or transferable lesson from like after that experience that you had to like this context, the front country?
Hmm. Shoot, that's hard. Uh,
Or how did you integrate it into
no, I
making
mean, I know I have an incident in mind. I'm just trying to figure, how can I speak about it, keeping people anonymous. Um, I think I can say there have been a couple of times when I've been I've been ready to physically fight somebody. And and we're going to talk about martial arts and jiu-jitsu later, but but having done martial arts and jiu-jitsu, like envisioning fighting someone is not that strange. It's not that much of a leap. So I've been there have been a couple times when I've been fighting mad, um and probably could have picked a fight with a guy. uh yeah, and again, I'll say the sorts of things that you learn in the backcountry is like you do learn to take a half a step back and say what's the larger umbrella goal here. In this particular instance, you want somebody else behaving more respectfully towards your family. Um, is a brawl in the living room gonna really accomplish that? Uh, if you kind of game it out, no. Like they're just like no matter how the fight goes, they're just gonna think you're an SOB. So yeah, I think I can say that is that there have been probably 3 or 4 incidents in my life where I was I was ready to fight somebody, but the sort of the process of thinking, wait a minute, we're not just trying to get from one side of the saddle to the other. Damn the lightning. We're trying to get to the one side of the saddle to the other safely and successfully, and no one needs to go home in a body bag just because we wanted to go on Tuesday instead of Wednesday to get to the other side of the valley. Um, and that's probably saved me a couple times.
Yeah, just that what I'm hearing there is like a moment of like pausing, zooming out, connecting with like yeah, larger picture, bigger values, and
Bigger values, or just like really thinking through the consequences. Like, yeah, like maybe you could pick a fight. You actually, Jonathan, against this particular individual, you could probably win. Um, there are plenty of people who can kick my ass. But against this particular individual, I could probably win. But where does it lead?
yeah,
What happens the next day?
totally.
How does that affect their relationship with everyone who saw them perhaps get into this fight?
Yep.
How how does that work? Uh that's been hard, but it's been real in my own life.
Well, it sounds like you got something out of
I got some mileage out of that incident. Yeah.
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 But yeah, I think like on the upshot, I think like why so that's how I found my way to NOLS as a student.
Okay.
Um, and I spent the next 2 years acquiring professional experience working in wilderness therapy, got an EMT, and eventually applied for an instructor course. And that's how I discovered Lander and fell in love with this area.
Hmm.
So I took an instructor course in 2014
Okay.
and had been working in the field for close to a decade, bouncing back and forth between field work, backpacking, canyoneering, rock climbing, and then starting in like 2017, doing body work in St. George. So alternate
Body work?
massage therapist.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, we do that very like opposite end of the spectrum in terms of um, dynamic environments, managing a large group of people to like a really calm, quiet environment where you're just connected with one person.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, now I work more in an in-town administrative role where I build the courses and facilitate the logistics.
okay. Do you miss the field work?
Absolutely. Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yeah, it's a yes and no. In this moment, a year into like being a full-time desk jockey, I definitely miss elements of the field.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, navigating like how to carve out time to like reconnect with those magical aspects. Because I can no longer probably I cannot get in the field for like the same amount of time as I used to as an instructor.
Hmm. is that the is that the fate of every outdoor professional,
There,
right?
hang up with that.
You start off as a river guide, you're like shooting rapids every day, and then like 5 years later, you're like, why am I looking at an Excel spreadsheet?
The irony is real. You get promoted up and out of the field, and yeah, behind a computer screen. Um, and it also feels good. Like there's definitely like costs that come with like that lifestyle of always being in the field. Like it can be hard on the body. It's hard to you're like building these really intense communities, having these peak experiences that after a month like dissolve, and then maybe you'll see some of those folks again, maybe not. And then you go on and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And after a while, that can be a bit hard on the soul, hard on the heart. While it's both beautiful and really inspiring and meaningful to have these like really intense social connections. They're very brief and fleeting, and
Oh,
you look
man.
around you and you see like all of your like your other peers who have planted some roots in a community and are doing the 9 to 5 type job, and you just see the compounding interest over time of being rooted in one spot. And at least that's what drew me out of the field was wanting to explore building community in different ways.
Okay. Whoa. So as an instructor, you're constantly trying to facilitate a level of bonding between peers, but also between the instructor team and the students that really is sort of the essential human bonds that we've always been drawn to as a species. And you're going to this intense environment, you're putting that, frankly, that bonding experience basically in fast forward, right? You're going to spend 12 to 14 hours a day together. You're going to get to this level of closeness that's pretty hard to mimic anywhere in the front country. But at the same time, then at the end of a month or at the end of the semester or whenever, you say goodbye to those people and you kind of start over again.
Yep.
Damn. Huh.
Yeah, just some.
Are there students that you still hear from, still keep up with?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Handful of them have become instructors themselves, and so I now get to see them when they come through town. Um, so yeah, not uncommon to like maintain relationships. It's not like oh, I don't see any of my students ever again. But a large majority of them you don't.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's a unique. You get really a lot of reps at letting go of relationships in many ways. Which is I think it's a powerful practice to have.
Sure.
And yeah, there can be like the longing on the other side, like, oh, like the nomadic dirtbag lifestyle looks so like dreamy and adventurous, which it is. And yeah, there's always a cost. No one's lunch is for free. And yeah, after at least for myself, after doing it for the semi-nomadic thing for about 10 years, I was ready to slow things down a bit and yeah, contribute to like these experiences via a different role. And still like putting those skills and lessons into practice. Like we're still practicing our leadership roles and skills. It just like looks a bit different in the front country versus the back country. And yeah, now I get to sleep in bed at night and do jujitsu.
Do jujitsu. Yeah, we got to talk about that. Let's take a quick break and we'll get back to it.
To explore how how one makes sense of himself in relationship to like these different challenging movements or things, and being able to communicate with people who have different thoughts and ideas and perspectives
Hmm.
has been much more rewarding for me, and making sense. And I found like the more activist approach. I think it's beautiful that like that is a form of like way we can show up in community and express our
Hmm.
hopes, wants, dreams, ideas, and like checks on power, etc. Um, that there's not as much space for conversations. It's a lot of just here's our side, here's your side. We're going to yell at each other, and more
Across Main Street. Yeah.
yeah.
Across the block.
Totally. It feels more just like virtue signaling to like your own tribe that you're like comfortable and safe with, and
Yeah.
less of like a trying to like understand and find like solutions to problems.
Mm.
And yeah, I found myself more comfortable in spaces like these where like the the stress levels are lower and people can like talk about things, and are curious to understand someone else's ideas. Just more enjoyable and more productive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And both have their place in society. So
We need some picket. We need a little light picketing every once in a while to, yeah, to let know that people are politically engaged. Mm.
because it's better than other forms of protesting that
Right,
happen.
right. Like, yeah, let's burn down the houses of the
Yep.
people who disagree with us.
Yep.
Oh, are we back on?
Yeah, just turn us back
Oh,
on.
we're back on. Okay, perfect. We're back. Um, on that point of how do you conduct productive political dialogue? I've always been a little hesitant about my own approach, actually. And it seems to me, Ian, that you and I probably have the same instinctual approach, which is can we get both sides on a divisive issue? Can we get them to the table? Can we get them talking? Right? That seems to be possible some of the time. And I think, honestly, that's what I'm always temperamentally inclined to do. My questions then become where do you go when even after dialogue, both sides still have a really fundamental disagreement on something that to some degree is near and dear to their heart,
Totally.
right? How do you conduct yourself in a political body, in a population when the two sides have spoken their minds and they still disagree with each other, even if that disagreement has been polite and respectful?
Yeah, and I think it probably depends on like the nature of like how what's the context people are showing up to communicate. I
Hmm.
think it's easier on smaller scales like this to like create the container of like, hey, this is a space for us to like you to show up. We're not trying to change anyone's mind. We're just
Mm.
looking to like understand another person's perspective and find like where we overlap, where we're common. I think we're living in a day and age where it's really easy to point the fingers and amplify the the image of like how we're different and
Okay.
like why that's like wrong or we're right. And once I think we go down that rabbit hole, it's really hard to like come out of that rabbit hole. Um, and if we start from a place of like, hey, we're neighbors living in the same town, what brings you here? Like, yeah, what's interesting about Lander to you? What are your what do we have in common? If we create that like bridge of trust and rapport as like people's living in the same place and time in history,
Mm.
having the same like similar like where the values and fundamental needs that we have in common, then I feel connected or people feel more connected and can like be a little bit more vulnerable to like, hey, I'm going to say something that's probably not going to land well with you. But if we lead with that, we haven't built any like trust and rapport, and we're already like created an image of our mind that the other person's like the worst thing for
Right.
humanity, then the
Right.
conversation.
You're just a rosary clutching monster.
Yeah.
No, well, you're a purple haired freak. Oh.
Yeah, we've already like shot ourselves in the foot, like conversations like you're trying to climb a hill with a 90-liter backpack full of rocks,
Mm.
and you haven't even tied your boots yet.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that I agree happens. Uh, my observation here in Lander is it's pretty tough when national political issues get onto the literal street of Lander, right? I mean, we definitely have protests here in Lander where there's like one side of the street is the red side and the other side of the street is the blue side, right? Um, yeah, and, well, and at least they're not physically fighting each other. What you say about finding community dialogue does really seem the way to a solution when it comes to things that are land or local or local to a specific community, right? So like the Via Ferrata, right? The Via Ferrata was people were pretty excited about it on both sides of the issue. And to me, precisely what you say about you have to get people to the table to talk about it seems the solution because everyone ultimately is pretty invested in Lander and they want the best version of Lander. Uh, how do you feel that the model you describe of trying to get people to find common ground does that really work when we're talking about things like the abortion protests that happen here, or the protests over that drag show that was like the drag show here in Lander 2 years ago, or some of the other things that have popped off. But it's really like the outside politics coming here.
Yeah, I think I mean, there's like a role modeling of communication that we're seeing across media that's like,
Mm.
this is how you communicate difference. Like you shout at one another across the street. Like we are just like, yeah, we just model we see in the information we're consuming. And so if what we see on the TV or hear on the news is like, oh, this is how we communicate, navigating challenge and conflict of ideas.
Mhm.
I guess this is what we do. Let's go stand on the corner and like shout across at one another. And like, that's what everyone else is doing. So we must be doing it right. Um, and that's my theory. So I don't think, yeah, we just have good role modeling of like how to like sit at a table and like, hey, I think I saw you on the other side of the street the other day. Tell me about, tell me about it.
Well, can you articulate your position? Right? Like, let's start there. Can you articulate why you were on that side of the street with a bunch of other people that you presumably agree with?
Yeah,
That would be a pretty key skill.
totally. I mean, that requires you to like reflect of like, this is my values. This is like why I'm here. I think it's also natural to humans to be like, oh, I want to like be seen as a member of this tribe. My people are all going to do this. Like, sure, I'll show up in the corner. I haven't like put a whole lot of thought into it, but they're saying this.
But
And
there's benefits to be reaped from that tribal signaling.
sure, yeah, absolutely. And that's a hard one to like parse out, especially in the moment if you're feeling like, oh, if I speak up and say like, hey friends, like, why are we doing this again?
Mm.
Even just like calling like your tribe's uh, thoughts or values into question, not to like put them down, but just be like, just to ask that, like, have we stopped to think about this? Or like, I don't quite understand. Could you tell me why we're here? Like, that is inviting. Yeah, you are now
Both sides want you in the middle of the street
yeah.
being hit by traffic. We're like, that
I mean,
guy.
you're saying like you were saying like I'm uncertain. We don't like uncertainty. We want certainty, and so it's really convenient and comfortable, I think, for our brains, our minds, to be like, this is who I am. This is where I'm at. These are my people. Those are the bad guys. It's a really simple narrative and story for us to follow. It creates like black and white rules um, to reduce like decision making fatigue, essentially. Um, like the longer we like rest in uncertainty, whether it's about something small, like, oh, what are we gonna have for dinner tonight, to like something large like abortion, is that it's really hard for us to like rest in that tension. It's kind of like, yeah, jujitsu, being stuck in a in between space
Mm.
when you're in the sprawl or something, and like you're not fully in one position or another, and it's just awkward and uncomfortable.
Yeah. You're just stuck. Have you been able to see a small community successfully navigate an issue like this? I mean, I think that what ended up happening with the Via Ferrata was that 4 years ago already?
It
Man,
might have been.
time
It was
flies.
definitely before I was like living here.
Oh, okay. Well, so are you familiar with like the general strokes
Mhm.
of the debate? I think I would describe myself as fairly pro Via Ferrata. Where do you land on it as a
Yeah, I have to like don't have like a strong opinion because I wasn't living here at the time.
okay?
Um, I think it's a phenomenal way to provide like access for people who otherwise can't get out there and have that experience.
Mm,
I think the values that like I play around with, and I don't think about that as like what's the impact on like the local ecosystem there.
hmm
Um, and yeah, what is the data to support like pro or against it? And yeah, like who are the members of our community that we're serving by having it? Um, yeah, I just have to like know more about that before I have like a pro one way or the other.
Okay.
If we were
Yeah.
like at like fully like destroying the local habitat might be like, hey, there's probably other
You
ways.
climb up, you get a peregrine egg, and you throw it against a rock.
Totally.
That's the experience.
Like, yeah, putting rebar into a wall, how's that any different than like putting climbing bolts into a wall
Mhm.
and anchors and um yeah, like these are clearly things that have been like managed well in different parts of the country and the world. Like I'm sure we could figure out how to manage that in a yeah, collaborative way. So
Yeah. I mean, in this particular instance, I think the project essentially died on the vine because of the concerns over species protection for nesting raptors. Um,
hmm.
yeah, Lander seems to me the type of community that is small enough and and has enough intelligent people in it that it seems like you could navigate some of these really hot button community issues successfully. Um,
But I think
Lander seems like a community that could pull itself together and get through the apocalypse because of the size and the varying resources that it brings to the table. I guess my question, Ian, is have you seen small communities like this get through a divisive topic successfully, get to a solution that everyone can live with?
on like the large culture-wide things, no, I can't say I've seen or experienced that.
Hmm.
I think I have seen and experienced it on like the small community scale of like being on an expedition.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think that comes from just like building rapport, getting to see people as people like you, and getting comfortable being uncomfortable in
Hmm.
conversation and exploring like that you might be wrong. Like you might have
Mm.
something to learn from someone else. And just like going into a conversation, like leading with that, like I don't have to like change my viewpoint. They don't have to change their viewpoint, but I'm a fallible person. This person clearly is seeing and perceiving something else. I should probably at least give them the time of day to like hear their side of the story.
The college that Tom and I went to, literally across the street, Wyoming Catholic, uh, one of our key authors is Thomas Aquinas, who would always take the effort to articulate his opponent's position and then would go through the further effort of actually coming up with further arguments for his opponent's position
Strong man.
before exactly. Yeah. So he would try to articulate and then essentially defend and augment his opponent's position before he would give his response. And that has always struck me as a really possibly one of the two or three best habits that you could get from a liberal education, a liberal arts education is, do you have the ability to understand and understand your opponent's position so well that you can articulate it back to them in a way that they agree with?
Yeah. So not, and not just understanding them from like I understand like the reasons and the rationality of it, but like I can like feel and empathize for where they're coming from. I can
Mm-hmm.
theory of mind, I can like put myself in their shoes, in their context of like, oh, this is what it's like to be this person in like their family and in their community. And I can see how like that argument or that perspective like makes sense.
Okay.
And and yeah, I think it's a practice
Yeah.
and it's one that takes time and a lot of patience, which is not things that come in spades this day. Well, yeah, hustle and bustle and lots of distractions. And so, yeah, I think it's just, again, it's easier to, uh, yeah, just go, go with what the crowds are doing.
Well, it's probably always easier. I think would even be from an evolutionary pressure. It's always easier to run back to the protection of your tribe,
Totally. Yeah. These
right?
behaviors like serve a function. It's like, yeah,
Right. These behaviors have contributed to our survival over the centuries.
yeah,
In fact, probably the person who's out in the middle of it saying like, well, everybody has a good point here. Those people have probably
kicked out of the
It's
community.
well, it's tough for those people to survive from an evolutionary perspective because everyone's like, I'm not against you, but you're not really someone I want to stick my neck out
Totally,
for.
yeah. There's a you lose trust. Like this
Mm,
person, like like the identity or the shared values and stories is a form of like building trust and rapport with one another. If someone's
mm,
being like, I'm calling our values or our story into question,
mm.
like, yeah, we there's almost like a reflexive loss of trust.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, we
Right. Right. Who
lose it
it?
in buckets, gain it in spoonfuls. So
Uh-huh. What are you generally familiar? I don't know if you grew up Christian or not.
I grew up, went to a Protestant Lutheran,
Okay.
yeah, preschool, elementary school, so like kindergarten through sixth grade.
Gotcha. So you're like generally familiar with like the narratives of the Bible. And I've mentioned this on the cast before, the the narrative of John the Baptist having spending time in the wilderness is very powerful because in a certain way he abandoned his tribe, not overtly, right, but he abandoned the support structure of his tribe to go into the wilderness. And what I find, I was thinking about this the other day, what's particularly striking about the John the Baptist character is that his dad belonged to this priestly class, right? So John had this natural career laid out for him, right? He could have been very successful inside this community if he had just followed in his father's footsteps to join this very honored and respected member part of the Israeli people, well, the Jewish people. But instead, he leaves all of that and puts himself in physical danger, but he also puts himself outside the aid of his own tribe. And I've someone pointed that out to me. It's not that I came up with it all myself, but someone pointed it out to me and it's stuck with me for years because it has occurred to me that the physical danger of the wilderness is one which allows you to then speak the truth more clearly because you've faced the possibility of your own extinction and gotten past that danger.
Totally, yeah. I think there's like a level of uh, yeah, discernment and yeah, truth that comes from like putting yourself on the line where life and death could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, yeah, when you're in the confines of predictability and routine and like conformity of whatever's been like laid out for you, um, yeah, you're upholding a narrative, but you don't truly know. Like,
Mm,
and so what I hear, yeah, in that story, like he is seeking truth. He's seeking truth within himself in relationship to the unfolding that is happening.
sure.
And the only way to like discover that truth is to like seek it out for himself. Um,
To be beyond aid, is the way I might put it.
yeah,
So I'm very curious in all the time that you spent in the field,
yeah,
did you ever have moments where you thought, this might be it?
yes. More so on like personal trips than like with NOLS.
Hmm.
Definitely have had some like experiences with NOLS where it's like, this is pretty gnarly. Um, I mean, one was like as a student, on our mountaineering section, we were in the Chilean fall season, and we're like actively watching the snow level come down in the mountains, and we're on our independent student guided expedition. There's no like actual trails where we're at. We're just like fully navigating by um, our topo maps, and if we like happen to come across like a game trail that's going in the right direction, great. But we had like 7 days of 5 to 7 days of hiking before we like got to like our pickup,
Mm.
and two of my tent mates came down with severe like gastrointestinal issues, and were could not move. We were tent bound for like 3 days due to like their illness, and we're watching the snow level come down and come down. And this isn't like
Wait, sorry, when you say snow level, are you talking about like this snow?
10,000 feet to 9,000 feet. to
As in there
April.
is okay, so snow is falling
Yeah,
and it's falling at lower and lower altitudes and
every night
sticking.
and sticking. And yeah, so I'm watching it come down every morning when I wake up and like are attending to like our camp chores for the three of us since they can't get out of the tent. And we don't have a sap phone. We have like a personal locator beacon that we can like press in the event that something goes poorly, but like response time of the Chilean government very different than here in the US. Um,
As as someone who worked on Tom Cruise's movies once said, he's like, we have safety measures, but they're more about finding the body than than
sure,
saving the life.
totally. So that was a moment where I was like, oh, this could go like really bad.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, there's like a level of like, I guess clarity of presence and purpose of like, oh, like, what do I need to do? Like, what are my values right now to like get out of this situation? Or what's
Okay, so you were the only one able-bodied,
at that point, yeah,
two people with gastroenteritis of some description, tent bound, and you're basically saying like we might be snow, like we might be buried in
we
snow.
need to move.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're gonna get like buried in snow. Our instructors are like at least 1 to 2, potentially more days in front of us. They're hiking to like the roadhead. We don't have a way to contact them directly.
Uh-huh.
It's not like we have a trail that we can just like run down and try to find them because we're in the middle of a very like remote, unattended spot. So it was, yeah, I think that was like a moment where I first realized
And
like,
how old were you?
22.
Damn.
Yeah, it was long story short, I ended up just carrying most of the gear and we just hiked very slowly. We were able to like luckily rendezvous with another group. And collectively we were able to like get out to our roadhead. We were like, I think a day and a half late. They were about to like send a search party to come back up and try to like find us. Um, but yeah, like there is something that's unique about the wilderness that like that the consequences of your decisions are pretty immediate and can yeah be like life altering,
Mm-hmm.
not just for you, but for others.
Yep.
That, yeah, here in the front country, we're more insulated from that level of consequence. And so it's easy for us to, yeah, just not have to think about those like level of truth. Like, what am I going to do when X, Y, or Z happens?
Mm-hmm. I remember we were up in Pinedale on my first winter trip, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and it was negative 30. Uh, as they told us later, we were in tents. It was negative 30. We had winter bags, um, but it was negative 30. And I remember getting out of my tent and thinking, oh, I better get like a Snickers bar and I better get some water to hydrate. And the wind was howling, and yeah, it was just that sort of cold where it's like it freezes the blood inside your face, you know.
No,
Right, exactly. It's like, why does my face hurt? It's like, oh, because my blood's congealing. And I do remember this distinct thought of, oh, I could be dead by morning if I don't manage every decision I make inside this tight time window very carefully. This really could be it here and now. And I must have been, I guess I was 19 at the time. And I do think that was a good experience in terms of in your general wisdom about life.
totally. Yeah, there's a like you become very present all of a sudden and aware that yeah, I must do something. There's a level of accountability to like my actions and where I place my attention right now that could have really profound consequences. And yeah, I think like that engaging, like choosing to engage in uncertainty is something that I discovered through like pursuing experiences in the wilderness, whether that's backpacking with NOLS groups or rock climbing. And that's a lot of the reason why like I segued into endurance sports and even like jujitsu is like, oh, like these are containers where you choose to put yourself into uncertainty to see how you show up or how I show up in those moments, dealing with that stress
Mhm.
that is then transferable to like situations in life when I wasn't expecting uncertainty and it just happens. Like how do you show up? Um, so like, I'd love to hear maybe like a bit more about like both of you, like what brought you to, I mean, we all share jujitsu in common. So like what was your, I don't know, drop-in point for engaging in that space?
Yeah, Tom, when was the last time you thought you might die?
Um, well, this was kind of after the fact, but it was very soon after the fact. Um, Last year we were painting the church in Hudson, the Catholic church over there, and this huge storm came up. I was up in the bell tower, and one of the guys was in the lift, the other guy was on the ladder, and we were like, that looks really dangerous. So we
This was
scrambled
in
down.
Hudson?
Yeah,
Okay.
we scrambled down, and then my brother pulls up with his truck, and he like parks next to the side, and we're all like, yeah, we should just head in for a few minutes, let this blow over. So we walk down the path, like go into the basement, and 10 seconds later we hear this huge crash and everything goes dark, and we start hearing these loud zaps. It sounds like lightning's hitting the building, and we
Whoa.
see smoke coming out of the door. So we're like, oh shoot, well something happened, and we're like, something must be on fire. Like we should go make sure everything's okay. So we like run down the church. We like have enough mental wherewithal to like genuflect, and we keep going. We're like, sorry, Jesus, let's go. So funny. And so we run outside, and then we look, and this huge tree came, hit the power lines, and crushed my brother's truck. And the power lines were zapping the door, and they were burning holes through it. It was like that high voltage
Oh my gosh,
electricity.
yeah.
And then we look down, and we're like, oh, that's hitting this water that
Right.
we're in. So we start booking it the other way. I call the fire department, but then we realized that that tree would have fallen on all four of us 10 seconds beforehand. Like all four of us would have died that day. It
If
was
you had stayed inside the spot of the building where you were
if
With a
if
truck.
we hadn't walked through into this, if we stayed on the sidewalk.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
yeah, like us 10 seconds into that building saved our lives.
Shit.
So yeah, that was crazy. I also earlier that year I went into anaphylactic shock, and that was kind of scary.
From an allergic reaction to something?
hmm
Okay.
Yeah, so and that was terrifying because like I couldn't breathe for like 30 seconds,
Hmm.
which doesn't seem like that long, but when you can't get air,
When you
You've been
can't,
choking me out. I've been.
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, 30 seconds is a very expandable and compressible length of time.
yeah. I was like freaking out, and my life started going in front of my eyes too,
Oh,
and I was
wow.
like, oh boy, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. And then
Mhm.
thankfully I got out of it, but
Yeah.
those are the biggest two lately for me.
Yeah. Yeah. There were a couple times growing up as a kid. My parents took us to the ocean every summer. And so we'd go body surfing and boogie boarding and just play in the surf. And there were a couple times, honestly, I think my parents trusted us a little too much. I was in high school, but still, like we were playing around in some gnarly surf. Um, I actually I almost got stuck, like, beyond, like, you can't get in past the breakers because the breakers are so rough. But I was okay. But then I actually ended up pulling someone in because they were tired. They didn't have anything to, like, no boogie board or, surfboard to hold on to. So they were just treading water. And, they realized, like, I can't get in past, like, the breaker region where all the waves are crashing. So they were like they were in the middle of the relatively calmer water, like where the waves are just swells, but they were just shouting for help. I mean, they were just like, help, help, because they realized they couldn't swim in past it. So I swam over to them and like shoved him my boogie board, right, and said, hold on to this and I'll tow you in. And I was able to tow him in. Um, but it but then afterwards I realized, like, oh, the surf's really intense today and like really could drown anyone without the without the ability to ride it out. And so I was 14 at the time, and I think that was probably my first moment, 14, where I had this sort of approximate vision of death.
Yeah, you experience this like sense of powerlessness, of like
Mm,
almost powerlessness, of like, oh, like there's things that are like beyond me that are more powerful than me. That,
right,
um,
right.
yeah, yeah, it's
Because
fascinating.
did you do some river rafting? Were you
Um,
telling me about like being pinned?
Nope.
by some whitewater?
Nope, that wasn't me.
Okay.
Have not been pinned by whitewater. I have done some rafting. Haven't had any like major near miss calls with that.
Okay.
No, more so like the climbing world
Okay.
have been like the near misses that have been like very helpful experiential learnings. Like sometimes it's like the best learning you can get is like to almost truly fuck it up if you could, and then you never do it again.
Well, that's the tough part as an instructor is because, like, as an instructor, you can't really arrange for people to have these near misses. But at the same time, you have to recognize it's the near misses that, like, really make the person grow up.
Yeah, and I mean
How do you balance that?
totally. Well, it's I mean, like risk management is one of the cornerstones of like our school,
Sure.
and we fully own and accept that like there's an inherent level of risk that is just beyond our control. Like
Hmm.
we can have the best practices, the latest science, like most trained people, and these life still happens. These dynamic environments still an avalanche. You could have read all the signs right. Avalanche wasn't supposed to happen. An avalanche still happened, and people die.
Yeah.
Like the school has lost students and instructors to things that are just beyond our control. They had a student struck by lightning a few years ago
Yeah.
and passed away. Um, and because these things do happen, we put a lot of effort into like making sense and learning from them. And so, yeah, a large portion of like debriefing and like you have an experience, you reflect on it, make an assumption before you go back out, you like test it, reflect on it, and we just like go in these circles and cycles over and over and over again, and that's how we learn and get better. But part of that learning is having like accidents will happen along the way, um, and we just accept that risk.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think that's part of like why like every time you show up to the mat, like you're not aiming to get injured, but like you accept the risk that
Mm.
that might happen. Um, I don't, yeah, every time like for me, like I go on a long trail run in the mountains by myself, like I accept the risk that I may like roll my ankle or come across a bear out there and like
Yeah. Or
that,
mountain lion.
yeah, mountain lion
Yeah.
totally changes the game. But you take steps to like mitigate those risks or control
Mhm.
it as best you can. Um,
What drew you to jujitsu?
um, yeah, I think found like martial arts fascinating ever since I was a wee little lad. And I grew up, yeah, going like the running sport routes, and found like the physicality of like grappling very intimidating. Um, and I think a lot of like post college has been me like choosing things that I'm uncomfortable or afraid of, and like I'm gonna I'm gonna pursue it to a level of like competency where it's no longer like scary. So whether for me that was climbing, at first I was terrified of heights, to like body work, really struggled with physical touch, and jujitsu is like, oh, like I was a scrawny, skinny runner kid growing up, and was terrified of just getting my ass kicked. And
Yeah.
where I'm at now, like I see like the value, like the physical benefits, of course, is like easy to see. Aside from getting potentially getting injured, the like strength, mobility, cardiovascular aspect of jiu-jitsu is amazing. And I think like the psychological transference that comes from like choosing to put in your that's like really primal martial space where um yeah, you are someone is trying to put you into the ground. What do you do about that? It does, at least for me, it does really fascinating. Like, it's fascinating to experience myself in that space, and like where my mind goes or doesn't go, and how to get more comfortable with like that discomfort. Um, Seems to have a lot of like transferable benefits to like other stressful situations off the mat.
Hmm.
And it's also fun to just hang out with cool people.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think the sport of jiu-jitsu tends to attract people who are inherently more comfortable with discomfort. And that is usually a pretty good baseline common ground that everyone has basically accepted a certain amount of chaos and then develop skills to try to manage that chaos. And that's not a bad start for a good cohesive group of people. Yeah.
And it's just a form of play. Like,
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I think it's something that I
Mm.
noticed a difference between like, especially like bouldering, like or climbing. Like, there's a form of play to it, but you don't get a fist bump the rock wall when you're done or after it's kicked your butt. Um, and yeah, there's an element of like, yeah, storytelling that comes with jujitsu. Like, you have like lineage, you have, um, yeah, the ability to like share roles and talk about how it went together. That I think is
Mm.
just pretty unique and powerful. To like go into like a pretty intense physical space where someone's at risk of getting injured and to come out of it and like fist bump and be like, that was cool. Yeah, I think it's just a powerful way to like, I think, build deep intimate connection really quick without having to like talk a lot or like,
Sure.
I don't need to know your political values to like, whoa, we just went to a space together and we came out of it the other side.
When was the last time either of you guys felt a panic attack on the mats?
When I did my competition
Okay.
August.
I don't think I've panicked yet.
Okay. Interesting. That was a pretty big feature of, I'm going to say, my first 5 years
Yeah.
of doing it. Yeah, because of you feel the panic swelling up inside you, of you feel the body ready to take over the mind
Oh yeah.
of saying, I'm gonna just take it, I'm gonna take control, and I'm just gonna thrash in the wild hope that that will free me. And I mean, I would say the first 5 years I did jujitsu.
Wow.
It wasn't every time, obviously, but it was a pretty fairly memorable feature.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Just strange things at time. Your ability to like think about technique just kind of goes out the window.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, like, I appreciate like the the discipline of jujitsu to be like, great, we're gonna go to that space and we're gonna like actively work to like get comfortable there so you can think and you can breathe and you can like exercise like decision making. Because yeah, I think a lot of us like this day and age, when if we don't put ourselves in that space intentionally, there will come a point in life when like you are put in that space, whether like you're in an auto accident, like your partner is like screaming at you or like threatening divorce or whatever. And
Oh,
it's like
geez. Yeah.
your stress level is up through the roof. Like, how do you deal with that level of like intense arousal and bring yourself to a space where you can like navigate the risk of the situation
Mhm.
that
I think that's what I would point to jujitsu as giving you the opportunity to practice is your body tries to like storm the cockpit, right? Your body starts telling you to scream or thrash or whatever. And the practice of keeping your rational self at the wheel might be the most valuable part of jujitsu for a person who's not pursuing it professionally.
oh
Um, and I will say, I think I've felt it at at least a dozen times of this real battle where the body says, get out of the way. I'm going to take over. And the rational part of you has to fight to stay in control of your body. And I guess that could be useful in some of the situations you describe, high stress environments.
totally. Yeah, where does your ego go when you like get submitted by a white belt who just like walked in
Yeah, yeah.
here for a month?
Yep.
Like, you
Yeah.
get to explore the wilderness of your own mind
Mm-hmm.
through physical practice.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of my bridge to it.
Yeah. So I'm only, yeah, I mean, I'm 170, 175 on, after the week of Thanksgiving. So there are a lot of guys who are plenty heavier than me. And I've been pinned under a lot of side controls, a lot of scarf holds, a lot of mounts. And it's so frustrating. You feel like a fly in the web.
Mhm. Totally.
And that's been good in the long run, although in the moment you think, man, Like, just maybe size does matter. No, you know,
Totally, totally.
they promised me it didn't.
Yeah. I think it finally like clicked. It was actually after the competition. I was rolling with Ryan,
Okay.
who, yep, big dude, got me inside control again,
Mhm.
and get to a spot where I normally would tap out, and I like just stopped fighting and just held it there, and he couldn't maneuver me into a submission, and so eventually he moved. So I like finally like learned like, oh, if I just calm down and breathe
Hmm.
and like don't actively like I don't have to make a decision right now to move and just breathe,
Hmm.
like an opportunity presented itself. It might not happen in every situation, but like in that was the first time that I didn't like try to struggle my way out of it and
Yeah.
get submitted or tapping out.
Sure.
And I think like that's applicable to so many other like challenges we face in life where it's like, oh, if you just like slow down and breathe for a moment and like don't make like a instantaneous reaction. Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom you said with that. Because like I wasn't panicking, but Mikey got me in case of Katami. I was just sitting there and I was like, I can't really breathe. It was really uncomfortable, but I didn't want to give up. And I didn't. And I he didn't submit me for like 2 minutes. After he submitted me 3 times before that. But those 2 minutes, I held
yeah,
out.
2 minutes
Yeah.
in queso. Oof.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. On your jujitsu journey, it's certainly okay to tap a lot, but I think the lesson here is that in in the journey of life and how jujitsu can train you for life to say, I'm in a panic ready moment, but I'm going to control the panic. That goes a long way. And I like what you say about the sort of the ability to live with attention, right? I remember one young kid I was sort of mentoring. He was in college. I was in my 30s. So we'd get together and talk. And dating was a big struggle for him because like he'd go on 3 or 4 dates and want to know like what is the future of me and this other person, right? And I remember he'd go through this cycle a few times. Uh, and I remember saying to him one time, like, buddy, it's okay to not know today, right? Like you can live in a space of a little bit of tension and uncertainty, and that is not a bad thing. And your ability to hold two things in tension of, hey, I'm really attracted to this person, but I've also got some serious questions about whether or not it could work long term. The ability to hold those two things in tension for an extended period of time, weeks, maybe even months, I do think is a sign of maturity, not
Totally.
to always need everything to be super black and white.
No. And I think that's also like it through that tension is like where we like learn more about ourselves. It's like maybe over time you're like, oh, actually, like I for so long been like, oh, like in maybe that situation of like really attracted to this person, but I'm uncertain on this like subject of compatibility, whether it's like have kids or not have kids. And for so long, I've just been like, oh, I can't do that. So no, not going to do it. Not going to do it.
Hmm.
But if you like allow yourself to hang out in that tension for a while,
Mm-hmm.
you maybe like over time realize, actually, I'm in a spot in life where I could see myself doing this. And is, yeah, are my values the same now as when they were 5 years ago? Is my life situation the same? And so I think there's that the magic of that tension is that's the crucible where we learn more about ourselves in this moment. Um,
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. So you're saying the tension is not just the tension is teaching us what's important to us.
it's giving you the opportunity to like hold that mirror up to yourself of like whatever you decide, it's going to be okay. Like, or it's okay because you're making a decision. It's happening in the universe. Like there's choices, consequences. There's going to be joy. There's going to be suffering. But you, in that tension,
Ain't that the truth?
yeah, in that tension, you get the moment to be like, where, yeah, what do I want? Where are my values? Like what resonates in like my heart, my body, my mind versus just like defaulting to like the same old narrative that I do all the time, just out of reflex. Um, so yeah, staying in that tension space. I mean, of course, if you stay in it too long, there's other consequences to that. But I think there's value in staying in tension and paradox for
Yeah.
more than
Right. For a certain amount of space, for a certain amount of time.
Do you guys ever like experiment to see how much pain you can handle at once and then just try to endure as much as you can for a period of time? Like I've tried this with like
Say more.
exercising, like just trying to see how many reps I can actually get out. Like
Hmm.
feeling so much pain for this rep, I can get to another one.
totally.
Feel the pain. I just kind of seeing what my limit is. I've gotten close to like passing out, but I haven't passed out yet. But
Are you talking about like pain of like a wall sit like until you
yeah,
like
you just can't.
you just can't
Yeah.
like the physics of the body can't support it. Not like it's not your mind. It's no longer your mind saying, "Oh, I'm tired."
So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I guess for me,
Well, it's a 20-something thing, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I think like the way I approach it in my life is like I have like a high threshold for discomfort. I have a low threshold for pain. And so, well, yeah, hear me out on this.
okay.
So I have like I can like and this is where I think like endurance sports, I come back to endurance sports for me. Like that's like a playground and a vehicle where I can like push like how long can I like do this thing like at this threshold and this feel like okay, this is hard, this is uncomfortable, but I'm not like injuring myself. I
Mm.
think once I feel like I'm in the spot of like I'm injuring myself, like my threshold's pretty low. That's why I'm in jujitsu because I've like banged my knee pretty good, got bursitis on it. I'm like, oh, nope, not gonna do it. Not gonna train.
Pause.
Yeah, just pause. Um, and so I think for me, like what my question for you is like, what are you trying to discover about yourself? What's on the other side of like that threshold, that test?
I guess for me, it's been like I always exited too soon. Like
Why is
the
that important? Or what do you hope to like gain by
well, like I
that?
guess like for instance, like I play like drums, and it's maybe it's discomfort's a good term for it, but it's like you get to like half an hour of practicing, and you know if you push another 15 minutes, you'd actually get this one set of line down in
Like you'd get the
music.
breakthrough.
You get the breakthrough and you learn the skill that you've been trying to overcome so far. But it's like that point when you're like, ah, it's too hard, and you stop. Then you have to build up to that level again the next time to then push through. So now I've been trying to just see like, okay, can I do in some areas now and just learn that break point to like get through to learn the skill or whatever it is. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do is just
Mm.
like whatever that break point is to actually learn the lesson. But
Hmm.
I don't know if that's a shared experience or I guess that was kind of what I was doing with Mikey. I was like, how long can I last? Just kind of testing.
I think it's a natural thing,
Yeah.
like push our like potential or push our boundaries, find where that potential um yeah, where's the limit to our potential and like different capacities and skills. Um I think like as I've gotten older, especially with like physical exertion things, like if you like push past that cliff edge, sometimes there's like injury on the other side.
Mm,
And I'm like less and less stoked on like knowing where that boundary is.
totally.
Because I'd rather be like, well, I could potentially go further, but I'd rather not be injured.
Yeah.
Go up
But
tomorrow.
I'd love to get out of bed tomorrow and
Yeah,
be okay.
yeah, yeah. I think free soloing climbing was another like wake up moment for me with that too.
Oh,
So
Free solo climbing.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, which is not something we do on NOLS course. This was like my self practice years ago. Um, and yeah, I think it was a form of like escapism from like hard, challenging emotions. It was a way for me to get like incredibly present. Like you don't have room to like daydream and allow your mind to wander. You have to be very intentional with where you're putting your hands and your feet. And yeah, there's a point at which I was like, I don't need to have like the experience of making it to the top to know that like I'm a valuable, worthy person or competent at climbing. Like that,
Yeah.
the cost associated for like an error that I could still do everything right and life could just happen, was no longer, the juice was no longer worth the squeeze.
Totally.
And so I think like that same, I guess I apply that same thing to like just other arenas of pushing myself now. It's like, is it really, do I really need to know like what my edge is? What is the payoff for it?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
I got to think about that for a minute.
I guess what kind of put me into that mindset was I was listening to a guy who's pretty good at fitness, and he was saying that one of the world's best in bodybuilding, his trainer would be like, feel the pain, because in the pain, that's where all your growth is happening. So they're like, just learn how to deal with that while you're training. Just like get as much, the pain isn't like discomfort
Sure.
more of than like hurting yourself, but just like how much can you handle? Because then when you get to that place and your body like rebounds from that, then it's so much stronger. That's kind of what kicked me into the idea. I was like, oh, maybe I should just test my limits more to actually see. Because then I have to like bring more of what I have to the table essentially to overcome whatever that is. But yeah.
I'm trying to connect some dots here. So, all right, so bear with me for a minute because it's going to take me a while to develop this thought. But I've heard that from an evolutionary standpoint, one thing that human beings have succeeded at is basically long-term hunting. So basically, our hunting strategy prior to bows and arrows, and even perhaps even after we had developed those, was to basically exhaust grazing animals' ability to get away from us, right? So a gazelle can outrun us all day long, as can deer, as can elk, as like there's so many animals that are so much faster than us. Fine. But what we've grown to excel at is basically the long-term hunt, where we basically outwalk our prey and we basically just push them a little bit until they're uncomfortable. They don't feel comfortable standing still, so they move. And then they move. And then they run out of water. They haven't eaten. They haven't rested. But human beings apparently are good at that endurance sport. Okay. So if we take that as sort of a true thing about human beings is that we're okay with discomfort, right? If I think about most mammals, right? Like even if you corner a raccoon, like it's a bit like its ability to fight its way out of a corner, like just thrash around with no regard for the pain that it's in, right? It is truly remarkable, right? You can shoot a raccoon with with a say with a 22 and it can still fight for a while. Like a lot of other mammals can fight despite the physical odds, despite the pain. Human beings seem to have this sort of built-in stop on what you're saying, Ian, like this pain threshold. I'm wondering if sort of our natural inborn instinct to step back from a true pain threshold, not from a discomfort threshold, is a result of the fact that, like, from an evolutionary standpoint, we've always succeeded when we've been uncomfortable, but still able bodied. And it's when, and basically, if we're getting to the point of like true agonizing pain, our body is saying, this is going to affect our ability to outwalk a gazelle tomorrow. So stop. Right. And there's a lot of, Navy SEAL types and
Which is
David
why we
Goggins types being
venerate
like,
those people.
say what?
Which is why I think we like venerate those people who choose to like they're pushing themselves to those pain points
Okay.
because it's like, whoa, you're going outside what we're like
You're
evolutionary.
getting past that evolutionary programming and you can actually do essentially the four-legged mammalian thing.
Yeah, they're able to like push themselves into a level of like unknown risk that we have like hardwire to like keep ourselves from doing, and they come back to tell us the telltale about.
Ah,
You know what I mean?
okay.
And that's why we find it so like powerful to hear these stories because there's incredible risk when you push yourself to those edges. And
And there's incredible risk that stepping back 100,000 years probably did not benefit the species, or at least didn't benefit your family lineage.
no, not
So,
at all.
right. So, how did that instinct survive in the human race? Who knows? But when people exhibit it, we are astounded.
Totally. I mean, like free soloers probably back in the 1000 BC didn't come back to live about it and pass on their genes. And so
But maybe they snuck into the enemy camp and killed the enemy leader.
there you go.
Right. And so they contributed to the tribe overall, even though their own bloodline was adversely affected.
So I guess to bring it back to you, Tom, like pushing the boundaries, I think like, I don't know, just use your use your judgment, like have a why behind why you're going for it. And like, are you aware of the consequence? I think that's the main thing. It's like people should feel free to push themselves. Just are you aware of the potential consequences on the other side and are you okay with it?
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. I have to think
Yeah, and I guess
about
that's what we
that.
do find impressive about people who are okay with like this might kill me. Right.
It's like, oh, that's not a
Okay.
risk that
It
I'm
might kill me. Yeah.
yeah. And that's yeah, Navy SEALs. That's like special forces. That's why we like, wow, those people like they're choosing to like go. You just dragged a buddy out of the firefight and like took two like bullet shots and you're going back in, like holy smokes. Um so
Yeah.
Do you, Ian, I'm curious, do you think we should venerate that?
I think like, should maybe like too powerful word. I think we can't help ourselves but be like
Hmm.
kind of like moths to a light or a flame. It's like that is like, the novelty of seeing other members of our people or species like do that is just, we can't help but be like, wow.
Wow.
Um, whether we choose to emulate that and like venerate that is like a different story and it's probably like based on context and like needs the moment. Um, you're in like wartime, you probably as a culture and species, like or like tribe, you're gonna be like, we need
We
our
need a few people to do that sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. And during peacetime, you might be like, well, it's actually not like champion doing those forms of behavior. So, yeah,
Hmm.
I think it's probably like it depends.
Sure. Yeah, I remember. Was it Jordan Peterson? Anyways, someone said that the types of leadership that thrive in peacetime are not necessarily the types of leadership that thrive in wartime, but that's not to disparage either type of leadership.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
respond to the needs of the moment,
Hmm.
and yeah, there's just choice and consequences.
Sure.
But, Tom, I see you getting a little sleepy. I'm sure it's I don't know what time that clock looks off, but I know we've been chatting here for a while, so um,
Do you have to go?
don't have to. I'm good.
How are we doing? Okay. I want to pick your brain. Well, pick your brain about a lot of things, but um, I want to pick your brain about uh, the the future that you see for yourself with jiu-jitsu. Are you hoping to compete more? Are you hoping to is it part of your overall like fitness program for yourself? What's your general thought?
Yeah, good question. I think it definitely like took a bit of a left turn after I like got the injury after the competition. I think where I'm at right now is I want it to be something that's a part of my life in like the medium to long term. And I think like allowing space for that also means allowing I have to be okay with like not doing it all the time. But
Mm,
wanting to like maintain a level of consistency. So I have seasons where I'm like, great, this is the thing I'm gonna like devote like my like athletic energy to like pursuing.
mm,
And then like this will be a season that like, okay, give the brain and body a break, go do something else.
mm,
And then I come back to it. Yeah, in terms of like competition, I might like, I do enjoy or I do value putting myself like just experiencing like, oh, where am I at? I think there's a crucible of like honesty of like, oh, this is what you got. Um, how much did your brain absorb? How many reps did you do? Like there's just a truth telling and like I think that competition
Hmm.
space that's like, oh, that's a helpful like I don't know indicator of where I'm at in like my training. Um, but I think ultimately what appeals to me about having it as a part of like long-term practice and discipline is the the community piece and like getting to a point of mastery where I can share it with others. Like like I found this myself like climbing too. Like I kind of like progressed quickly and got to like a level of climbing and then hit a plateau and was frustrated about like my own performance within that plateau, but really enjoyed
And you were
coaching
plateaued at
511.
5'11"?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Got to the point where I was like, oof, to get to the 512s, I gotta like just do climbing. Um, which I want to do. I want to enjoy other types of things in life and yeah,
I want to enjoy, I don't know, friendship.
yeah, friendship, or I mean, just like other physical activities like trail running or,
Hmm.
yeah, mountain biking, jujitsu. Yeah, I see myself more as like just a generalist of like lots of different movement patterns
Yep.
and not seeking like oh, I need to hit X level of like belt mastery, but like, oh, I would like to have a level of competency where, yeah, like this could be something I do and like give back to the community in some ways.
Hmm.
Like whether it's teaching the little ninjas or getting to a point where like, yeah, subbing in or teaching some of the like fundamental classes for adults. I think would just be both feel really empowering and I think it's just a cool skill set to like give to others.
Share back.
Um, and so yeah, I think that's something I've noticed about both like climbing, body work, and jujitsu. Each of them have been like things that I've struggled with or been afraid of
Yeah.
that I've then turned into like a practice and get to a level of competency where I can then like give it back to others. I'm like teaching, coaching others,
Yep.
and I guess it's a way for me to like put put to rest within myself, something that's been
Some gnawing question.
or yeah, just like a challenge point and like my human being. I'm like, oh, like this was something I was scared of, and now I got to a point where I'm teaching others in it.
Yeah. I think for me, jujitsu is part of the answer to the question of what is my reaction when there's a will set against me. So when I described what happened in Pinedale, on that winter trip, but there were a couple other times on different outdoor trips or in the ocean, as I described, where like nature was dismissive of me, right? Lightning storms, white water, heavy surf. But there's a certain comfort in the fact that nature is doing its thing. I mean, yeah, it might kill you, but it's also not really, it doesn't really care.
Totally indifferent.
It's totally indifferent. There's no particular will set against you. Um, there were a couple times, especially when I was out of the country, where I had a couple of experiences of thinking, oh, this person intends me harm. And I think jujitsu for me was a part of a response to that of can I handle being hunted, which is in a certain way a different psychological space.
Totally.
I remember I was on a bus just traveling from one part of Belize to the other. Um, and this guy was I don't know if he was just trying to hustle people or if he actually didn't like me because I was a different race. I really don't know. I didn't talk to the guy, but he was like I was sitting on the bus. And he was like getting in my face, and like I was sitting down, he was standing up, so he was kind of over on top of me. And I remember like shoving him, and saying like, um, and that was like my first brush with what do you do when someone's will is violent and against you can you handle that psychological space when another human being, a member of your own species, uh, does not intend your prosperity? And I think that for me was a big reason to get into jiu-jitsu and martial arts specifically because it helps at least mimic, like you described it as play, and it is, but there are moments when it is going to mimic someone's will being not in your best interest. And I know that for me, I continue to pursue martial arts because that's still a bit of a question in my mind is can I handle malevolence and a physical malevolence? And maybe it's a question it's never absolutely answered because as long as we're alive, we're somewhat vulnerable. Um, but I know that that question is always somewhere that there's a tension there for me in the back of my mind is, am I ready for malevolence?
Yeah, you may not have an answer to like every single potential situation where that's
Mm.
called into question, but you have answers for some.
Yeah,
Like,
for some.
at this point,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think there's a sense of like, at least for myself, that resonates with me, like a level of like self-confidence of like, okay, like I know I could do something. I might not turn out the way I wanted to do it,
Yep.
but like I have agency,
Yep.
or I perceive myself as having more agency than I did 6 to 12 months ago
Sure.
in that situation.
Sure.
And that
Yeah.
I think provides a level of like psychological safety that could diffuse situations before they even begin.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, okay, yeah, he may be 50 pounds heavier and angry, but I have a plan. I don't know if the plan will work, but I know where I'm gonna start.
I've been here before.
I've been, I've been here before. And as my very wise friend Joey once said to me, Jonathan, if you can help it, never do something for the first time. Never be in a situation for the first time.
Great paradox. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, it was good. Um, so where are you? Like we've talked a lot about education, but it's sort of kind of been in this physical environment, in this physical world. What are you reading these days? What are you, thinking about or studying? Yeah, where are you kind of on the kind of more brainiac side of the coin?
Good question. I think these days I do a fair bit of like consuming content like through audio. So a lot
Yeah.
of podcasts, a lot of audible reading, fair bit of psychology. I think like go-to podcasts I listen to these days are yeah, Jordan Peterson.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
Andrew Huberman and Chris Williamson with like the Modern Wisdom.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, it's great.
Shout out to Chris.
I'm gonna go see him in Salt Lake in December.
No way. Wait, when?
I think it's December 4th. Tickets are still on sale. Yeah. So
We should go.
That'd be fun.
yeah. Well, I have a buddy. I sent him a ticket. I'm waiting to hear back from him. He ends
Is
up
it like an arena event type deal?
yeah,
In
yeah.
Salt Lake.
Yep, Salt Lake.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So if my buddy doesn't get back to me with like, hey, I can make it, like I'll reach out.
How much are these tickets?
Well, when I got it, I think it was like $90. They weren't like the most expensive tickets, but I bought it like a few months ago, so I'm sure prices have like changed since then. But you should check it out.
Yeah.
Be
I
stoked.
really like Chris. He seems to have a nice balance of intellectual curiosity with a approachable layman's.
Totally. Yeah, and he does a phenomenal job of like sharing his thoughts as well as like just phenomenal interview questions and creating a comfortable atmosphere for the guest to riff off of. So yeah, really been enjoying listening to Chris these last.
Okay. Yep, yep, yep.
So I guess his flavors of conversation topics recently have been a lot of like gender and culture,
Yep.
masculinity components. I think this sense of uh like purpose and agency, or like at what level are you like so focused on self-improvement that you're actually like sacrificing the thing you're trying to get to by doing the thing you're all these things that you're doing. which is like resonated with me. Kind of been on like a self-improvement development kick for the last few years. I'm like, where is this all going? Um,
Am I happy?
yeah, yeah,
Am I connecting with people?
yeah, exactly. So
Right.
thank you for reaching out to have a conversation. This feels great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think
I've felt that. Yeah. Self-improve. Right. There's always some area, I mean, career, relationships, communication, interpersonal skills. Like there's always something
there's always something.
that you could be doing better. Yeah.
So yeah, I think at times it's like, oh, I really like love the process, love the journey of like trying new physical things, practicing new, yeah, like meditation practices or journaling, etc. And then at other times I feel like I'm just like I'm building myself up to do and be something, but I don't know what that is, and it just feels like a giant complicated project that's going nowhere. And yeah.
No, I get that. No, that makes so much sense to me. Where you step back and you're like, is this all futile?
What am I doing? Why am I trying? But yeah, and I think the value of like relationships, like had a relationship that parted ways earlier this year, and I think like,
Mm.
those are just such phenomenal mirrors for like this is what you have to work on, good sir. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
through like the grief process and like holding that mirror, I'm like, okay, I deep dive into like I think probably a little too much on the self-focus, self-work stuff. Um, and so trying to come out of that shell or that monk phase and be a little bit more like community oriented, which feels good to get the attention off of the self-improvement a bit. While still,
Right, right. There can be a certain idolatry to
yeah, there's this
do it all.
I think what I've found, yeah, there's just like presupposition that like, oh, like you're not okay as you are. There's something you can always be doing more.
Yeah.
Or there's something for you to work on, which there is. But if there's like this feeling sense of like you're this constant state of like brokenness that you have to like work on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's interesting what that does to like your psychology and how you show up through like all these other arenas of life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it's been helpful to kind of just like put the self-improvement thing on hold, focus a little bit more on like play and levity.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, just get outside and relax and like not train as hard, hence
Mm.
not training in jujitsu with the injury and just gonna go backpacking. Um, yeah,
Right, right. To breathe. Yep. To go up to Sinks Canyon, put your feet in the water, read a book.
fall color. Yeah, so good.
It's true. Whoa. Man, I feel like we barely scratched the surface on all the things that we wanted to talk about. And I do, you got to come back. We got to talk more about some of these things, but we are unfortunately out of time, as we are always out of time. But Ian, man, thanks for coming on. We're going to have you back. There's a lot more to dig into with basically all of these topics. Um, yeah, thanks for a great cast, man.
Jonathan, Tom.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It was-
absolutely.
So
That's
great
a
to
wrap.
meet you both. Thank you both.